Mass is that of the second Sunday after the Epiphany. In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti, Amen. Incroibo adultari Dei. Iudica me Deus et discerne causa meam de gente non santo, homini quod orso ero. Amen. Nemite lucitum et veritatem tuum, et summe deduxerunt et adduxerunt et multum sanctum tuum et tabernacula tua. Sancti vertibi incidera Deus, Deus meus, quare Christus anima mea, quare cantoribus meus. Gloria Patri et Filio et Spiritui Sancto. Nitro Evo adultari Dei. Adiutorium nostrum in nomine Domini. Impedio Dei Omnipotenti, Beata Maria, Semper Virgine, Beata Michaeli Arcangelo, Beata Ioanna Baptiste, Sanctus Apostolos Petra, Paulo, Omnibus Sanctus Arbobis Fractus, Quica Travenimus Creditatione, Verbal et Operae. Mea culpa, mea maxima culpa, Io Praetor Beata Maria, Semper Virgine, Beata Michaeli Arcangelo, Beata Ioanna Baptiste, Sanctus Apostolos Petra, Paulo, Omnibus Sanctus Arbobis Fractus, Erarco Mea Dominum Deum Nostrum. Miseriatur vestri omnipotens Deus et missis peccatis vestris purificat vos ad vitam aeternam. Indulgentia maximus remission peccatorum nostrum, tribo et nobis omnipotens et misericors Dominus. Deus conversus deificabis nos. Ostende nobis Domini misericordiam tuam. Domini exaudi orationem meam. Dominus vobiscum. Oremus. Omnis terra adorate Deus et salat tibi salvum vita nomine tua altissime. Jubilate Deo omnis terra salvum vicite nomine eius. Date gloriam laude eius. Gloria Patri et Filio et Spiritui Sancto. Sicut erat in principio et nunc et semper, et in saecula saeculorum. Amen. Omnis terra adorate Deus et salat tibi salvum dicat nomine tua altissime. Kyrie eleison. Kyrie eleison. Christe eleison. Kyrie eleison. Kyrie eleison. Gloria in excelsis Deo, et in terra pax hominibus bonibus laudamus Te, benedicimus Te, adoramus Te, glorificamus Te, gratias aequimus Tibi, propter magnum gloriam Tuam. Domine Deus Rex Celestis Deus Pater Omnipotens, Domine Filio Unigente Iesu Christe, Domine Deus Agnus Dei Filius Patris, qui tollis peccatum mundi, miserere nobis, qui tollis peccatum mundi, suscipere peccationem nostram, qui sedis ad dexterum Patris, miserere nobis, ponim tu solus sanctus, tu solus Dominus, tu solus Altissimus, Iesu Christe, cum Sancto Spiritu in gloria Dei Patris. Amen. Dominus vobiscum.
Et cum spiritu tuo.
Oremus. Omnipotens sempiterne Deus, qui celestia symbol et terrena moderaris supplicationis populi tui clementer exaudi, et pacem tuam nostris concede temporibus. Per Dominum nostrum Iesum Christum Filium tuum, qui te convivere regna in unitate Spiritus Sancti Deus, per omnia saecula saeculorum.
Amen.
Oremus. Deus qui salutis aeternae beate Maria virginitate fecunda humano genera premia prestigiis tribo equesimus sed sanctorum nobis intercedere sentiamus per quem meruimus actorum vitae suscitere Dominum nostrum Iesum Christum filium tuum Ecclesia tu equesimus Domini praetus placatus admitte destructis adversitatibus laboribus universis secura tibi serviat libertate per Dominum nostrum Iesum Christum filium tuum qui te convivere regna in unitatis Spiritus Sancti Deus per omnia saecula saeculorum. Amen. Lectio Epistolae Beatae Pauli Apostolia Romanos Fratres habantes donationes secundum gratiam quae data est nobis differentes sibi propitiam secundum rationem fidei sibi ministerium ministrando sibi qui docet in doctrina qui exhortator in exhortando qui tribuit in simplicitate qui affreas in solicitudine qui misericordiae in hilaritate Dilectio sine simulatione, audientes malum, orentes bono, caritate fraternitas in vicem diligentes, honore in vicem prevenientes, udine non pigri, spiritu ferventes, Domino servientes, spe gaudentes, in tribulatione patientes, oratione instantes, necessitatibus sanctorum communicantes, hospitalitatem sectantes, benedicite persequentibus vos, benedicite nolite maledicere, gaudere cum gaudentibus, flere cum plentibus, ipsum indicem sentientes, non alta sapientes, sed humilibus consentientes. Nisi Dominus verbum in abit eos est, eriquit eos de interitu eorum. Sanctifiantum Domino misericordia eius et mirabilia eius filius homino. Alleluia, alleluia. Laudate Dominum omnis angeli eius. Laudate omnis virtutis eius. Alleluia. Dominus vobiscum. Sequentia Sancti Evangelii secundum Ioannem. Venida tempore nunciae facis in Cana Galileae errata Mater Iesu ibi. Vocatus est autem ad Iesus et discipuli eius annuncias, et deficiente vino dicit Mater Iesu ad eum. Vinum non habent. Et dicere Iesus, quid mediat et tibias mulier, non impenit hora mea. Dicere Mater eius ministris, quod cumque dixerat vobis facite, erat autem ibi lapide, didrie sex posite, secundum purificationem judeorum, capientes singulae me tritas venus velternas. Dicere Iesus, in plete hydrias aqua, et in pleberum eas usque ad sumum. Et dicere Iesus, morite nunc efferte articriclino et tulerum, ut autem gustavit articriclinus aquam vinum flacum, et non siebat undi esset, ministri autem siebat, qui hauserant aquam. Vocat sponsum articriclinus et dicere, omnis homo freedom bonum finum ponet, et cum inebriate fuerent, et sunt quod deterius est. Tu autem servati bonum vinum usque ad hoc fecit indicium signorum Iesus in Cana Galileae, et manifestavit gloriam suam et predigerunt in eam discipuli eius. Today is the second Sunday after Epiphany. The epistle for the second Sunday after Epiphany is from St. Paul's letter to the Romans. Brethren, having different gifts according to the grace that is given us, either prophecy to be used according to the rule of faith, or ministry in ministering, or he that teacheth in doctrine, he that exhorteth in exhorting, he that giveth with simplicity, he that ruleth with carefulness, he that showeth for mercy with cheerfulness. Let love be without dissimulation, hating that which is evil, cleaving to that which is good, loving one another with the charity of brotherhood, with honor preventing one another, in carefulness not slothful, in spirit fervent, serving the Lord, rejoicing in hope, patient in tribulation, instant in prayer, communicating to the necessities of the saints, pursuing hospitality. Bless them that persecute you, bless and curse not. Rejoice with them that rejoice, weep with them that weep, being of one mind, one towards another, not minding high things, but consenting to the humble. And please stand for reading the Holy Gospel according to St. John. At that time there was a marriage in Cana of Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there. And Jesus also was invited and his disciples to the marriage, and the wine failing, the mother of Jesus saith to him, They have no wine. And Jesus saith to her, Woman, what is that to me and to thee? My hour is not yet come. His mother saith to the waiters, Whatsoever he shall say to you, do ye. Now there were set there 6 water pots of stone, according to the manner of the purifying of the Jews, containing 2 or 3 measures apiece. Jesus said to them, Fill the water pots with water. And they filled them up to the brim. And Jesus said to them, Draw out now and carry to the chief steward of the feast. And they carried it. And when the chief steward had tasted the water made wine, and knew not whence it was, but the waiters knew who had drawn the water, the chief steward calleth the bridegroom, and saith to him, Every man at first setteth forth good wine, and when men have well drunk, then that which is worse. But thou hast kept the good wine until now. This beginning of miracles did Jesus in Cana of Galilee, and manifested his glory, and his disciples believed in him. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Amen. This is our Lord's first miracle, the beginning of his public life. Not only works it in Cana of Galilee at a wedding celebration, a wedding party. It's probable that this is when he instituted the sacrament of matrimony at this wedding, because we don't know when we know he instituted all 7 sacraments. The sacrament is an outward sign of grace instituted by Christ, but we don't know exactly when he instituted all of them. We know when he instituted baptism, but the others, it's more mysterious when actually they were actually instituted. It's not recorded clearly in the Gospels, so it was recorded in tradition, recorded in other places, but it wasn't recorded in the Gospels. But the marriage, St. Paul tells us, is a great mystery. It's a great mystery, Christian marriage, not pagan marriage, but Christian marriage, because it's a manifestation of the union of Christ with his church. So the church is the bride of Christ. And so the church represents the bride, and Christ represents the husband, the groom, and this is the mystery that God has elevated marriage up and made it into a sacrament, and so made it something holy, something good, and something that is supposed to reflect the union of Christ with the church. So that in Christian marriage, the husband is supposed to have a love for his wife, like our Lord had for the church, that he's willing to lay down his life. As our Lord died for his church, the husband has to be willing to lay down his life for his wife and his family, and have that great love for her that he'll sacrifice everything for her. And that's how then this union of Christ with the church is made known to people by looking on a good, holy Christian marriage, where there's much prayer, much devotion, much charity, and doing good for others. Now, in our day, there's a great attack on marriage, and there's also a great crisis in the church, and these are related because of this relation between matrimony and the church. So let's go back. So Christian marriage is different from pagan marriage. When Adam and Eve were married, Adam said, well, now for this cause a man will leave his father and his mother and cleave to his wife, and there'll be no longer two, but two in one flesh. So there's the union of flesh in all marriages. But in the Christian marriage, there's also something more. There's also a union of the souls, that the souls are united by God. So the powers of the souls, so when we make the marriage contract, the husband is thinking the same thing as the wife. They have the union of the meeting of the minds. They have a meeting of the minds, so yes, they do want to get married. And they have a union of wills. So they say, yes, I will to marry you. I want to marry you. My will is united to yours, and I want to marry you. And the bride says, yes, I want to marry you. And God also then puts his will in it. He says, I will this marriage. And so God unites them, and he unites their souls together by their union of their wills, that they all want, the three wills all want the same thing. And God's will is immutable. That's why a Christian marriage cannot be broken. And that's why our Lord, where Moses had allowed divorce, our Lord said now there can be no possibility of divorce, because what God has joined together, no man can set asunder. And so now God is joining the husband and wife in matrimony. And this is a great thing. Whereas before he wasn't doing that. It was their own wills, but now in the sacrament of matrimony, God joins them together. And that's a reflection now, that union, that intimate union, is a reflection of the union of Christ with his church, whereas the church is the bride of Christ, and the members of the church, by baptism, we become a member also of Christ. So when Saul was persecuting the church, our Lord said to him, Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me? Because our Lord is identified. He's one with his church, and he identifies himself with his church. So by his church, we are members of Christ. And now, this crisis in the church, where the churchmen have gone out and said, well, we can go other paths. We don't have to have just a union with Christ. We could have a union with Buddha or Vishnu or some other false god, some other devil, or Pachamama or something. And all these ways will be going to Christ. And this is the equivalent of adultery. So going to somewhere else other than to our Lord, and having to say, yes, false gods are good, false religions are good, and all these things are good. And this destroys the church. It's a great attack on the church, and this attack on the church is reflected in the attack of the world on matrimony. So now they're saying, well, normally and according to nature and according to our tradition, matrimony is a union of one man and one woman, a male of the species Homo sapiens and female of the same species, and that's all that matrimony can be. Now they're saying, well, it could be all kinds of different combinations of creatures, not limited to two, and not limited to this or that, or different means, and that's all going to be now a marriage. And this is reflected on this because of this the church going these different ways and saying all these other ways are ways to Christ, and that's not true. Well, now in marriage we have saying all these other ways are legitimate marriages, and that's not true. They're not there. They're not marriages. But it's the attack on marriage. And the marriage has to be fruitful. The marriage is to bring forth children. And there's an attack on the fruitfulness of marriage by all these sins against the children, preventing children from coming into the world. And I think it was St. John Vianney. He said that was already in the 18th century. So there were already women preventing children from coming into the world at that time. And he said, well, these women are going to suffer very much for not having the children that God wished them to have. And so attack on the fruitfulness of marriage, the children, and then trying to take the children away from the parents and have them raised by the state instead of having a family unit, having a communal unit for the family. So all these attacks on the family, and of course allowing divorce, permitting divorce and putting serial marriages and all these other things. These are all attacks on matrimony, and they're reflected by, they're produced by, I think, the attack on the church, and that the church has succumbed to all these evils, and the church is
committing sins against the first commandment, having false gods before our Lord, committing sins against all the commandments, really, and encouraging people to sin against all the commandments. Not the church. The church cannot sin, but the churchmen, the popes and the bishops and the priests and the nuns are all encouraging these things and allowing these things. And so the only way we're going to really straighten out matrimony is if we first also straighten out the church. And so we need to pray for the straightening out of the church, but we need to also encourage people to have holy marriages and faithful marriages and practice fidelity in their marriages, that they are faithful to their spouse and that they love their spouse and they try to make their marriage reflect the union of Christ with his church. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Amen.
Credo in unum Deum, Patrem omnipotentem, Factorum Caeli et terrae, visibilium omnium et invisibilium et unum Dominum Iesum Christum Filium Dei unigenitorum, et ex patrinatem omnium ante omnia saecula, Deum de Deo, lume de lumine, Deum verum de Deo vero, genitum non factum consubstantialum Patri, per quem omnia facta sum, qui pater nos omnias, et pater nostrum salutem, descendit de Caeli, et incarnatus sensi Spiritus Sancto, ex Mariae Virginae, et homo factus est. Crucifixus etiam pro nobis sub Pontio Pilato, passus et sepultus est, et resurrexit tertia die secundus scripturas, et ascendit in caelum sedit exterum Patris, et iterum venturus est cum gloria judicarit vivos et mortuos, cuius regni non erit fines, et in spiritum sanctum donis vivificantem qui ex Patre Filio concedit, qui cum Patre et Filio simul adorator et cum glorificator qui locutus est per profetas, et unam sanctum catholicum et apostolicum ecclesiam confiderum in baptismum in missum peccatorum et expecto resurrectum mortuorum, et vitam inter saeculi. Amen. Dominus vobiscum. Amen. Jubilate Deo, Luxateras, Dicite nomini Eos, Venite et audite et orabo vobis, omnis quitimentes Deum, quantitate dominus anima mea. Alleluia. Te Prachras. Omnia secula seculorum, Dominus vobiscum, Sursum corda, gratias agamus Domino Deo nostro, Vere dignum et justum est tecum et salutari nos tibi semper duque gratias agere Domini Sancti Pater omnipotens aeterni Deus, Lucum unigenito Filio Deo et Spiritus Sancto, unus est Deus, unus est Dominus, non unius singularitate personis, sed unius trinitate substantiae, quod enim de tua gloria revelante te credimus, hoc te Filio Tuo, hoc te Spiritus Sancto, sine differentia discretionis sentimus, in confessione veris sempiternique Deitatis, in personis proprietas, in essentia unitas, et in majestate adoratori qualitas, quam laudent angeli ac arcangeli, superbum quoque ac seraphim, non cessant clamare quotidie, una voce dicentes, Sanctus, 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 Dominus Deus Sabaoth, benedictus in caeli et terra, gloria Tua, Zanum excelsis, benedictus, tu veniet in nomine Domini, Hosanna in excelsis. Double-scope peccator. Per omnia saecula saeculorum.
Amen.
Oremus, preceptus solitaribus moniti et benedictione formate audemus dicere. Pater noster, qui es in celis, sanctificator nomen tuum, adveniat regnum tuum, fiat voluntas tua, sicut in cielo et in terra. Panem nostrum quotidianum da nobis hodie, et dimitte nobis debita nostra, sicut et nos dimittimus debitoribus nostri, et ne nos inducas in tentationem. Per omnia saecula saeculorum. Pax Domini sit semper vobiscum. Agnus Dei putalis peccata mundi, miserere nobis. Agnus Dei putalis peccata mundi, miserere nobis. Agnus Dei putalis peccata mundi, dona nobis paz. Domine non sum digne. Domine non sum digne. Domine non sum digne. Misereatur vestri omnipotens Deus et misti peccatis vestris perdicat vos ad vitam aeternam. Indulgentiam absolus remissionem peccatorum vestrorum tribuat vobis omnipotens a misericors Domini. Ecce agnus Dei, ecce qui tollit peccata mundi. Domine non sum dignius intres subtectum meam, sed tantum dic verbos in habiter anima mea. Domine non sum dignius intres subtectum meam, sed tantum dic verbos in habiter anima mea. Domine non sum dignius intres subtectum meam, sed tantum dic verbos in habiter anima mea. Benedicit Dominus in plete hydrias aqua et perte archifrictino. Cum gustas et archifrictinus aquam vinum factum dicit sponso. Servastis bonum vinum musquiatur. Hoc signum fece Jesus primum coram discipulis suis. Dominus vobiscum. Oremus. Audiator nobis praesumus Domini tui virtutis operatio divinis vegetatis sacramentus ad eorum promissa capienda tua munere preparemur. Per Dominum nostrum Iesum Christum filium tuum, qui tecum vivere regna in unitate Spiritus Sancti Deus, per omnia saecula saeculorum. Dominus vobiscum. Ite missa est. Benedicat vos omnipotens Deus, Pater, et Filius, et Spiritus Sanctus. Dominus vobiscum. Initium Sancti Evangelii secundum Ioannem. In principio erat verbum, et verbum erat apud Deum, et Deus erat verbum. Hoc erat in principio apud Deum, omnia perfum factus sunt, sine ipso factum est, nihil quod factum est. In ipso vita erat, et vita erat lux omnium, et lux in tenebris luce, et tenebrae non comprehenderum. Cui homo missus ad Deo, cui nominor Ioannes, hic canis in testimonium perhaberat illumina, et omnes crederam per illum. Non erat ille lux, et testimonium perhaberat illumina, erat lux veraque illumina, et omnium hominum venientem in mundum. In mundo erat, et mundus persum factus est, et mundus eum non cognovit. In propria venit, et sui non receperum. Quod autem receperum venit, et potus datum filios Dei fieri. Id qui credam per nomine eius, qui non est sanguinibus, neque voluntate carnis, neque voluntate viri, sed ex Deo natis sum. Et verbum caro factum est, et habitabilum nobis et divinis gloriam eius, gloriam quas in genite Patre, plenum gratia et veritatis. Ave Maria, gratia plena Dominus tecum, benedicta tu mulieribus, et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesus.
Santa Maria,
Ave Maria, gratia plena Dominus tecum, benedicta tu mulieribus, et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesus.
Santa Maria, Mater Dei, ora pro nobis peccatoribus,
Ave Maria, gratia plena Dominus tecum, benedicta tu mulieribus, et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesus.
Santa Maria, Mater Dei, ora pro nobis peccatoribus,
Salve Regina.
Ave misericordia, vita dulcetus nostra salve. Ave clamamus excelsis Ave suspiramus gementes et flentes in anima Romane. Ea guarda gratia nostra. Deus tuus misericordiae hoc nos converte. Et Iesum benedictum fructus Christui nobis exilium ostende. Oquemento via Christi gloria.
Ora pro nobis Sancti Dei. Oremus, Deus refugium nostrum, virtus proclamate clamatum propitius respice. Benedicente gloriosa Immaculata Virgine Dei Gentrita Maria, cum beata Iosef, eius sponso. Ac beatus apostolus tuus Peter, Paulo, omnibus sanctus, quas pro conversione peccatorum per libertate et exaltatione sancti matris ecclesiae praetus et fundimus. Misericordias et beneficentiae, per iundum Christum Dominum nostrum.
Amen.
Sanctum Caritantur defendos in prelio contra consensitias diaboli est presidium. Impertili Deus sufficius de precamor, trique principalitis celestis, sacram aliosque spiritus malignos, libertationem pervergantur Vergata mundo divina virtute in inferno te trude. Cor Jesus Sacratis. Cor Jesus Sacratis. Cor Jesus Sacratis.
To the glorious Father, shelter me.